Congratulations, we've made it this far, and welcome to the last math swag of the year. Reflection time. In Google Classroom, please view the responses from last swag by clicking on the Responses link. Which were your favorites? Which ones could really help? Please push pause and add your thoughts in the class comments section below. Now it's time to reflect on what went well for you over the last 6 weeks. Click on the What Went Well link in Google Classroom and add your thoughts.
Hello, Irving ISD math teachers. It's Tasha Hofer, your elementary math coordinator. First, I'd like to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to participate in our virtual swag session. Let's talk a bit about the concrete pictorial abstract progression. Concepts need to be introduced through hands-on experiences with manipulatives. This is very important as you plan your daily math block. As you are choosing learning activities for any part of your math block, choose concrete task first. Then, when your students are ready, move them on to the pictorial phase. It's important for our students to know that a pictorial model helps us to make a mental image of the concrete that we've been using. With this progression, students should have enough context to understand an abstract task. So if your students are struggling with an abstract task, that tells you that you need to take them back through the progress. Thank you. Here's how that might look in your grade.
Okay, so here we go. We are looking at the 6 weeks for first grade. And on our one pager, there is just one unit listed. There are really 2 units within first grade for this final 6 weeks. Unit 8 is PFL, which is Personal Financial Literacy and Data Analysis. And then Unit 9 is a Bridging the Gap, getting first graders ready to go to second grade. So there is not specific text within this. Unit 9 is an opportunity to go back and see what your kiddos need specifically, looking at their data and just helping them prepare for second grade. And we will talk about Unit 9 in a little bit more detail today. Looking at our one-pager with Unit 8. These are texts that have not been introduced yet this year, so that's why we have made sure to bring some attention to them. Since this is the 6 weeks, you will notice everything is for mastery. One big idea we definitely want to point out looking at this is we have opportunities to talk about our bar graphs, our T-charts, our tally marks, and picture graphs. So make sure you are showing kids data collections in various ways. And then also 1.8C is to draw conclusions and generate answer questions using the information from the picture and bar graph types. So not only are we getting that data, but we need to then take it one step further and come up with questions that we could ask, or when given a question, we're able to do some mathematics to compare 2 different types of data that was collected, or maybe combine data that was collected to figure out a total. When we look at the 1.9s, A, B, C, and D, these are our personal financial literacy pieces. And within there, again, everything is for mastery. And we are starting at an early level about teaching children about money, because we don't want them later on when they go off to college not understand just because you have the checks doesn't mean you have the money in the account. So like I said, we are starting early where we're defining money as it being income that's coming in. We're also going to talk about how income can be obtained with goods and services. And then we often have to make a choice between our wants and our needs. This can get some great discussion pieces in there because, for example, I might need to go ahead and get some new shoes because my shoes have holes in them. And wow, those Air Jordans look really cool, but oh wow, that price is out of my budget. So even though I need shoes, I may not need the Air Jordans. Those become more of a want. I might just need to get some good old-fashioned tennis shoes to help keep my feet covered and keep me safe. We're also going to talk about spending versus saving, and then the idea of giving to charity starts within first grade. So you'll notice in our teaching tips to continue to look at in grade with the specificity and learning plan. We definitely want to bring in ideas of tools when we're talking about coins and graphing materials. Throughout this unit, we need to make sure when we're doing that teach piece, it is starting with that concrete and then moving to a pictorial representation and then more to of an abstract idea. So when I am talking about coins and quarters, I'm giving them either the plastic coins that look very similar to the real deal, or if you want to bring in the real deal, that they're able to see that money and manipulate it before we're just seeing pictures of the money on the page. Also, besides talking about the coins and the money, you can include your hundreds chart as a tool to use, so that way students can place the coins and see how the increment is increasing. You could do a foldable, and that way you can reinforce the idea of 5 nickels equals 1 quarter. And then there are also some songs within in grade just to kind of help the kids make it through the day, help you as well, and get them excited about learning with coins. When we talk about graphing, a few other quick points I want to make sure we cover is with graphing as well, going back to that idea of concrete, pictorial, and abstract, that's when students are going to have their tally charts, or you can even have them physically get in a graph, so it's a human bar graph. The pictorial representation can be their pictographs or picture graphs, and then more abstract would be just a bar graph on its own, and students would need to know, be able to read the information and make inferences or make connections to what's going on. One other part I definitely want to make sure we talk about is with representing data, that there's some real life connections. Students might be asked what is their favorite sport or their favorite superhero. Maybe we're talking about the number of vowels that is in their first name. So just get creative in the different types of graphs you want your kids to work on this 6 weeks, and how you can still practice a bar graph, but it can be a bar graph, human bar graph. It can be a bar graph with sticky notes. It can be recording the data with kids standing up and you're writing the number, or you're even going back and doing the tally marks. So again, as we talk about concrete, pictorial, abstract, we need to keep cycling in that idea of how are we going to move students through those different examples. Within the first grade learning plan with the personal financial literacy text, you will notice that there are some everyday math lessons as well as some other ideas listed here. Many of these PFL activities have books that correlate to it, so you definitely want to go to your librarian and see if you have these books in your library, or if not, put the books on hold. But again, it's another great way to connect literacy within the math content and to just get kids excited about what's going on in math, especially when it comes to personal financial literacy. This idea of break it up is to continue to have students working to decompose numbers. Again, we're just trying to build that fluency of number within the 6 weeks. So you'll notice within the directions, it says to roll 1 die. You'll want to make a special die that has some larger numbers, possibly 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then you'll have one more space, so you could even do like 13, or you could focus on your team numbers. Down at the bottom, we do have a number line to assist children with being able to count on and get their ideas down. So that's what Break It Up is. This activity, Find 10, is an opportunity for students to continue to decompose the number 10. You will need to have a red matte pencil or marker as well as a yellow matte pencil or marker. So that way player 1 has one color, player 2 has the other. You will also need to have a two-sided color counter, and as the counter flips in the air, that's when we know who's starting the game. As you do that, the first child has to figure out a way to make 10. So by looking at the grid board, they have to figure out, how can I make 10? Again, this is another activity to help students with decomposing numbers, and we want to send them into 2nd grade really strong on different ways to make a quick 10. Duck, rabbit. This is a great activity to bring in our literature piece, because we know in 1st grade we love to read and we love books, and it's always excellent when we can find a way to bring in a literature piece or tie-in with our math. So double check your library, see if you have the book, Duck, Rabbit, and then you would go ahead and read the story to your kids, and afterwards you would ask them the question, do you think this is a picture of a duck, a rabbit, or something else? From there, you would go ahead and record the children's answers. We gave you some different ideas that you can do a tally chart. You could do sticky notes to help build a bar graph. And then from there, you could write 3 facts about your data. So thinking back to the Learn to Inspire Institute way back in August, so many moons ago, an idea that you could bring out is an FQR. So once you've collected your students' information on if they think this is a duck, if they think this is a rabbit, or if they think that it's something other than those two, you can have your students help you write sentences where they are telling you facts from their data chart. You can also record questions that the children have as they are noticing what they have on their data chart, and then also reactions, responses, and reflections. So again, it's a blast from the past, bringing an FQR within a math classroom with a literature connection, but it's also a fun way to get kids thinking about data for this 6 weeks. Unit 9 for 1st grade, we're looking at this learning plan, and this is where we are making connections with facts and operations. Other grade levels are calling it a bridge the gap idea, but what we're focusing on specifically with 1st grade is just really working hard to get our students ready to go for 2nd grade. So you'll see within the small groups and stations time, there's a little side note just to remind you that this time is to be used to target text within the instruction that the students are needing extra time. Specifically, we suggested making sure that they can compose and decompose numbers, as well as that kids have a strong understanding of place value to 120. The reason why that second part was mentioned is because all of a sudden in 2nd grade, we need to know, in 1st grade, we need to know the place value of 100 to 20, all the way up to 2nd grade being 1,200. So that is a mighty big jump. So definitely make sure you spiral back in place value with your kids so they have a strong understanding, so when they go to 2nd grade, it won't be nearly as scary or problematic. Also, as we go down on the learning plan, you'll notice within the lessons, again, several ideas and activities to continue to strengthen numeracy skills as well as flexible thinking of how to add and subtract with numbers. And then you'll notice down at the bottom, it says TCM with a lesson number. TCM stands for Teacher Created Materials, and this is a resource that has been provided in Irving, so we do have access to it. We do not have all the lessons, but we do have specific lessons that are targeting the ideas that we do want to spiral back within the 6 weeks to make sure our 1st graders have a great, strong foundation in order to help them become successful in second grade. So please feel free to go through, look at those teacher created materials, find some lessons that you have students that need. These could be whole group activities, but they could also be something that you need to move within your small group or station time. So again, we're just trying to provide you some additional resources to help your students be more prepared for second grade and definitely building in numeracy and fluency with their numbers.
Take this moment to relax. Just think, in a few months, you could be at the beach.